got a size advantage. The Hound's going to struggle against her.
It's Israel back in the game now. Michael Tucker.
As always, should have been a foul call.
Marcus is wide open.
Hey, what's up, Loyola, and welcome back to the Six Man Report. I'm your host, Rob Fredrickson, and joining me is my co-host, Brendan Highland. And Brendan, we have a lot of news to report this past weekend. We had the lacrosse games going on, the basketball games, and we had our Bracket Buster game. Brendan, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Bracket Buster game for the men's team?
Well, Sunday afternoon, Bracket Buster game against Boston University. The school, we won, and first time in school history, Rob, we notched our 20th win. It was a big day, it was a big win. We joined Division I in 1981. This is the first time we've reached the 20-win plateau. It was also senior day for seniors Jared Hall and Shane Walker, and they were honored at the end of the game. And really, the Hounds played really well, Rob. They shot 50% for the game, 71% in the second half. They were led by Bobby Olson. He had 17 points, 5 of 6 from three-point range. He played very well. Justin Drummond added 12 points. Dylan Cormier added 14. Etherly had 11 and 6. They played very well.
Yeah, Etherly did his normal thing. And let's talk about Bobby Olson. The kid is shooting lights out.
Right.
We've been talking about it all year. And like we said, in the college game, the three-point ball is so important. And we really didn't have that element to our team in the past couple of years. But Bobby Olson really does bring that element. And 5 for 6, that's great shooting.
Right.
He kind of carried us in the second half. He was hitting some huge shots in the second half. And he played really well.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that 1-3 was really that's the only shot he missed the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When he shoots the ball well, it spaces the floor for everybody. It lets Drummond and Cormier go to the basket. It allows Eric and Shane to work one-on-one on the block. It's nice to have that ability to go to a shooter.
Yeah, and I mean, we know the guys Etherly and Cormier play night in, night out. They're doing really well. But let's talk about Justin Drummond. I really think this kid's going to have a chance to win Sixth Man of the Year in the MAC. I mean, he comes off the bench, and he's just as good as any starter in the MAC. He really is a phenomenal player, and he just keeps playing strong and big, and he's shooting the ball really well. I know we talked about his jump shot. Maybe he wasn't the best, but lately he's been shooting the ball lights out and very consistent.
And I just want to say the point that you made, I think, is a good one, that he's good enough to start. I think he's good enough to start for most, if not every other team in the MAC, except for us. And I think that just shows how deep we are at that wing spot.
Yeah, even Wimbush had a good game, got a ton of minutes in that game against BU. So, you know, that was an important game. We don't see BU at any time really in the past. You know, I don't know if we've ever even played them in Division I history, but, you know, we took it to them in the Bracket Buster. We prepared well enough, and we won a game that was close, and we took it convincingly by the end.
Right.
But let's talk about what's coming up now, Brendan. We have 2 games left in the regular season. They're both away games. Let's talk about the first game. That's Ryder. Ryder's 8-8. We know what we did to them at home. We kind of took it to them. Really,
We put a beat down
on
them.
them. But this game, it's Friday at Ryder on ESPN2. This is maybe the most national televised attention we've ever gotten on ESPN2.
Yeah.
It's very well. How do you think we're going to fare in that game,
I think that we're going to fare very well. You know, in the first meeting, we used a 29-4 run in the first half to make our halftime lead 39-12, I think it was, and forced 12 turnovers in the first half. Rogers lost 3 straight going into this game. We're kind of on a high after beating BU. We've had a nice 4 or 5 days off by the time we play them. You know, we've played well in our nationally televised games this year. We beat Iona on ESPNU. I believe we played Ryder when we played them earlier in the year. That game was on ESPNU. So we've played well on ESPN, on the ESPN family of networks. I'm hoping that it continues this Friday.
Yeah, I think that this is an opportunity for the team to, you know, have analysts stop even talking about Iona. You know, start talking about Loyola, because we're just as good, if not better than them, and we definitely have the opportunity. And I think if we could do it on national television and maybe, you know, put another whooping on Ryder, I think we would start getting some more murmurs about us making the national tournament over Iona.
Right, and I was just going to say, I think that people need to start looking at the MAC as not just a one-team, you know, division or league. You know, a lot of mid-major leagues like, you know, the Missouri Valley Conference, the Ohio Valley Conference, conferences like that, people look at them and say they can get more than one bid into the tournament. I think that the MAC needs to be looked at. So yeah,
but definitely it's not a one-team conference. We know Iona gets all the recognition, and we're right there, Loyola. But there's not even teams who are playing on Sunday. We got Manhattan. Manhattan's 11-5 in the conference. We're 12-4 in the conference. So this really is a huge game on Sunday. You know, saying we win on Friday, you know, we have to beat Manhattan on Sunday to keep at least second place in the conference right now. So that's a big game.
We talked about last week how after the Iona game we kind of had a letdown against Fairfield. We can't have that after this Ryder game. You play in Manhattan. They're a good team. That's a tough place to play. The first time we played them earlier this year, we only beat them by 1. We needed a Dylan Cormier last-second three-pointer to win the game. Manhattan's a scrappy team. They're a good team. I think that we need to come out and play, and I think the Pats is going to have the guys ready to go.
Yeah, so, I mean, we can't look past any game. Let's go to Ryder, handle business there. And then Manhattan, that's going to be a really tough game at Manhattan. So let's go take care of business this weekend, Hounds, and come out and, who knows, maybe we'll end up with first place in the conference after this weekend. And that will be the end of the season. But let's talk about the women's basketball team now, Brendan. They had 2 games this past weekend, and we know they were on fire. And on Friday, they were able to extend their winning streak to 6 by beating St. Peter's 61-54. Kara Marshall led the team with 14 points. And there was also good games by Katie Sheehan. She had 12 points. Alyssa Sutherland had 10 points and 8 rebounds. And Mary McKenzie had 8 points and 7 rebounds. So the girls, they had a really good game. They played well again, and that was away. So it was a huge win on the road. Right. And that pushed their winning streak to 6. So, I mean, what did you think about that game, Brendan?
Again, I think the girls are playing well. I said it last week. They're playing well at the right time. Kara Marshall has really impressed me for a freshman to kind of come in and take over this team, playing very well down the stretch of the season when they need her. The 9-7 now in the MAC puts them in a tie for 3rd, and unfortunately they weren't able to carry that momentum of the win against St. Peter's. They lost to Iona on Sunday, but like I said, 9-7 in the MAC. They're in 3rd. They're positioning themselves well for the conference tournament. Maybe they can make a run. Team's playing very well. Kara Marshall's hot. I kind of like our chances.
Yeah, I think we're playing really well. Just to know that Kara Marshall's a freshman and she's kind of leading the team at this point. And then we still have that senior leadership. Mary McKenzie still goes out there and does what she has to do night in, night out. Right. And like we said, they're playing very well at the right time. Although they lost Iona away, they were on a hot streak. And let's just put that in the past and get out there and win some more games. And we'll see what happens in the MAC tournament.
Hopefully make some noise in the tournament, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Brendan, we know basketball isn't the only sport going on right now. We have lacrosse. And the men, they started off right. They played number 19 Delaware this past weekend on Saturday. And they defeated them 13-8 in their season opener. Brendan, why don't you tell us a little bit about that game?
Well, Rob, the men's lacrosse team, they were a little shaky in the first quarter. I was a little nervous. They were down 3-0 at the end of 1, but they came out in the second quarter and they dominated. They had a 5-goal run. Eric Lusby ended the game with 4 goals. Mike Sawyer ended the game with 3 goals. They played very well. Like you said, we ended up winning 13-8. But really, we took control in the second and third quarters. It was 10-6, I think, at the end of 3. And we really started dominating, especially just causing turnovers, getting ground balls, and going up and down the field. And we got into a tracking with them, and they just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, and I don't know if like the nation really knew how good Loyola was going to be this week. I don't think we were ranked last week.
No.
And now we're ranked number 13 in the polls. So that was a great victory. I think it was definitely a statement game to let everybody know that Loyola is the real deal this year.
And I think it was a big game for Eric Lusby. He was coming off a season in which he only played 2 games last year. He tore his ACL in our 10 playoff game against Cornell. Tore his ACL. He was trying to play last year. They just shut him down, said rehab it. He's a grad student now. Came out in his first game. He played very well. Like I said, 4 goals. And I think that for anybody who is coming off an injury, when you play well in your first game back, your confidence immediately goes up because now you're saying, I've done it before, I've done it in game situations, and I think he's going to be ready to go for the rest of the year.
Absolutely, and the fact that he's a grad student, the leadership is there. Mike Sawyer is a junior. And also, congratulations to Scott Ratliff. He was honored with the ECAC Lacrosse League Defensive Player of the Week, so congratulations to him. He picked up a bunch of ground balls out there and took care of business.
He had a goal, too.
Oh, and he had a goal, and he did what he had to do. Yeah. So, Loyola, they had a big game against Delaware, but they are playing this Saturday also against our hometown rival, the Towson Tigers. I think we're going to take it to them. It's at home. It's Saturday at 1 o'clock. So everybody get out there for that game. The lacrosse games are so much fun. Right. And it's against Towson. They're going to be bringing some fans down as well. So
I just like to say it's the 54th meeting between the 2 schools. Towson's up 27-26. We won the last 4. Let's make it 5 this week, and let's get that to 27-27.
Absolutely. Let's move on to women's lacrosse now. Unfortunately, they were ranked 7th going into last week, but they lost to number 10 Virginia. They lost 14-9. It was only 6-5 at halftime, Brendan, but the Cavaliers came out on fire and they outscored the Hounds. I think it was 8-4 in the second half. So they really just didn't bring in the second half. You think that was maybe because they were away on the road?
I wonder if it was 2 things. 1, if it was away on the road, but 2, they had a lot of freshmen playing and a lot of sophomores playing. And I think that when you go on the road and it's the first game for a lot of kids, they kind of come out so hyped, so ready to go that by halftime they're drained and they're not used to playing in these longer games against better competition. And I think that maybe that's what happened on Saturday.
Yeah, so it'll definitely be a little bit of an adjustment period. Obviously, you know, the Hounds are still going to do very well this year. We have no doubt in that. They're going to stay ranked, and they just needed a big bounce back, and that's going to be next Wednesday, the 29th, where they're going to be playing Johns Hopkins at Johns Hopkins. And we always know these are bitter rivalries with this school. You have anything to add about that game?
Well, I would just like to say that I think that the girls are going to win this game. I'm very confident in them. I think that they're going to use that loss against Virginia as motivation to really take it out on Hopkins. I think that a lot of people should go. You know, Hopkins isn't that far away. It's a nice little walk. So I think that we'll take it to them, though.
Yeah, I mean, the girls, I definitely think the Lady Hounds will rebound this weekend. So on Wednesday, I'm sorry. But, Brendan, that will end it for the six-man report, but we do have a huge weekend coming up. You know, we have men's basketball. They have 2 games away. If you want to make the trip up to New Jersey and New York, that'd be a great road trip for the weekend. And, you know, lacrosse game on Saturday at home. So we have a lot of things going on with Loyola Sports right now, and everything is going great. We have breaking records in basketball. The Loyola men's team is ranked in lacrosse now, so things are going really well.
Man, I just want to say one thing, that congratulations to Brendan Morris and Caitlin Cronin. They were named the MAC swimmers, each respectively for the women and for the men, MAC swimmers of the year. So congratulations to them. And I know that they won a few events at the MAC tournament. So, again, congratulations to them.
It's quite an achievement, and, you know, the swimming team always kills it every year, so congrats to them. And Loyola, you know, just make sure you get out to those games, the lacrosse game on Saturday and then the women's game on next Wednesday at Hopkins, and we'll see you next week, Loyola.